You are standing in a forest right now. Dense trees, no sky visible, no phone signal. Someone asks you, which way is north? You pause. You look around. You have no idea. You are guessing. That hesitation, that complete blankness, is not a human default. It is a modern one. For most of our species' existence, the answer to that question would not have required thought at all. It would have arrived as a feeling. This is the story of a sense you were born with, used to have, and quietly switched off. Let's start with what we know is inside you right now. Deep in the ethmoid bone, the small, spongy bone sitting directly behind the bridge of your nose, between your eyes, there are millions of microscopic crystals of magnetite, a naturally magnetic mineral. The exact same material found in the beaks of homing pigeons. The exact same material that helps sea turtles cross entire oceans and return to the beach where they hatched. It is sitting since skull at this moment. It has been there since before you were born. You have never once used it consciously. Most people will live their entire lives without knowing it exists. That is not the only piece of hardware. In your retinas, you carry a protein called cryptochrome 4. In birds, this protein is light sensitive and reacts directly to magnetic field lines. It effectively lets them see the Earth's magnetic grid overlaid on their vision, like a built-in compass drawn across their entire field of sight. When scientists took the human version of this gene and spliced it into fruit flies, the flies navigated using it successfully. The protein works. The software runs. We just stopped opening the app. So the hardware is there. The software is there. Why can't you feel it? The answer starts a very long time ago, and it is a story of use, then abandonment. Picture this. Somewhere in East Africa, roughly 70,000 years ago, a small group moves through open grassland in the pre-dawn dark. No landmarks, no trail. The stars are overhead, but low cloud has pushed in from the east, and even the familiar star patterns are disappearing behind it. One member of the group pauses, orients, something between a decision and a reflex, and then moves. The others follow without question. He does not know the word north. He does not need it. Something in his skull is reading a field that covers the entire planet, a field that does not care about cloud cover or darkness or unfamiliar terrain. He is, in the most literal sense, plugged in. Ancient hunter-gatherers tracked seasonal animal migrations across hundreds of kilometers. They located water sources in featureless terrain. They returned to camp across landscapes they had crossed only once before. Researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer groups consistently find navigational accuracy that cannot be fully explained by landmarks, star patterns, or wind direction alone. Something else was operating. Their brains were continuously processing environmental data. The sun's arc, the magnetic pull beneath their feet, the scent on the air. Not as a separate navigation task, but as background noise, as constant and automatic as breathing. Then, around 10,000 years ago, we stopped moving. The agricultural revolution did not just change what we ate. It changed the demands we placed on our nervous system. Settled farmers did not need to orient across open terrain. They needed to know the field behind their house, the road to the nearest village, the path to the river. The navigational challenge collapsed from continental scale to local scale almost overnight. Landmarks replaced magnetic sense. Named roads replaced open terrain tracking. The neural pathways dedicated to magnetoreception, like any biological system that stops receiving demand, began to quiet down. Evolution is ruthlessly efficient. Maintain a metabolically expensive biological trait that the organism no longer uses, and over generations it gets turned down. Not off, down. A mute button, not a power switch. The process accelerated through every subsequent technological shift. Paper maps, printed road guides, street signs. Each one reduced the demand placed on internal navigation further. And then, in 2007, the smartphone arrived in everyone's pocket, and the process became absolute. GPS does not just help you navigate, it removes the need to build a spatial map of your environment in your mind at all. You outsource the entire cognitive task to a satellite. You follow a blue dot, you arrive, you have no idea what direction you came from. The neural pathway goes dark, not from injury or disease, but from pure, sustained, daily disuse. And here is where it gets uncomfortable. Neuroscientists have found that chronic GPS reliance physically shrinks the hippocampus, the brain region responsible for spatial memory and navigation. This is not metaphor. This is measurable structural change visible on an MRI scan. The brains of London taxi drivers, who must memorize tens of thousands of routes to pass the notoriously difficult knowledge exam, show significantly enlarged hippocampal regions compared to the general population. Use the pathway and it grows. Stop using it and it contracts. We are not just forgetting how to navigate. We are physically reducing the organ that does it. But here is what the science also shows. The sense is not gone. In 2019, geoscientist Joseph Kirschvink at Caltech placed participants in a dark, magnetically shielded chamber. No light, no sound, no conventional sensory input at all. When researchers subtly shifted the artificial magnetic field inside the chamber, changes too small to feel through any conventional sense, changes the participants had no rational way to detect. Their brains showed a distinct, measurable drop in alpha wave activity. Alpha wave suppression is the brain's standard response to noticing something new. It is the neural signature of attention, the signal that says, something just changed in my environment. The participants could not consciously describe what they felt. Most reported nothing at all. But their brains were registering every shift in real time, responding automatically, below the threshold of conscious awareness. The hardware had not gone dark, it had gone quiet. The Gugu Yimithir people of northeastern Australia offer perhaps the clearest evidence of what happens when cultural practice keeps the pathway alive. They do not use relative directions, no left, no right, no behind you. Their language operates entirely in absolute cardinal terms. An ant on your leg is on your southwest leg. A cup on the table is to your north. The stranger sitting across from you moved to your east. Children grow up with constant directional feedback embedded in every sentence spoken around them from infancy, and the result is an almost flawless, apparently effortless sense of orientation that persists even in pitch-black rooms, even in unfamiliar buildings, even underground. The wirings is not different from yours. The training is. Now imagine the same forest you were standing in at the beginning of this video, same trees, same darkness, same absent sky. But you have spent the last 6 months without GPS. You have been forcing yourself to navigate by landmark, by sun position, by the feel of the slope beneath your feet. You have been rebuilding something, slowly, clumsily, with frequent wrong turns. And now, in this dark forest, something stirs. Not a full signal, not the effortless orientation your ancestor had, but something, a pull, a lean, a direction that arrives not as a thought but as a bias in your body. Faint, uncertain, but there. That is what dormant looks like. That is the difference between deactivated and deleted. The magnetite is still in your ethmoid bone. The cryptochrome is still in your retinas. The hippocampus is still plastic, still capable of growth under the right conditions. The Kirschvink experiment confirms the brain is still listening to the magnetic field. It is simply no longer reporting what it hears to the conscious mind. Decades of GPS use have pulled our attention away from the signal, but they have not destroyed the receiver. What we lost is not the hardware. What we lost is the habit of listening. Every time you open Google Maps to navigate somewhere you have been before, you are making a choice, a small, invisible, easy choice, to let the pathway go quiet for one more day. Every time you look up at the sun to check the time, instead of reaching for your phone, you are making the opposite choice. The sense is not waiting for a scientist to reactivate it. It is not waiting for a new technology or a new study. It is waiting for you to put the phone down, step outside, and ask yourself, which way is the sun right now? And then actually try to answer. You already have everything you need. You just stopped asking the question.